Going on, everybody? Welcome back into another video. Today we're going to be doing our top 5 free agent pickups that the Arizona Cardinals need to go after in this year's free agency class. If you guys do not know, the Cardinals have upwards of $70+ million in effective cap space this year, and I think right now we are either number 3 or number 4 in the highest amount of cap space heading into the 2025 offseason. So let's get going. The Arizona Cardinals hopefully are going to hit the playoffs and hopefully just go to the next step from obviously 4 wins to 8 wins and then hopefully double-digit wins and hopefully a playoff berth. Fingers crossed, because we all need it, Bird Gang. But we are going to go ahead and dive into players that I would love the Arizona Cardinals to reach out for in this year's free agency class. But this news just dropped a little earlier this morning, and I want to kind of get a gauge in where you guys are at with a potential backup quarterback that was just released this morning. If you guys did not know, let me know here in the chat if you have any interest in potentially the Arizona Cardinals going after a Gardner Minshew for a potential backup QB role. Let me know in the comments below, but shout out here to Tom Pelissero with the tweet saying this: the Raiders informed Gardner Minshew they will release him when the new league year begins next Wednesday, per sources. Now, we made multiple videos about the Arizona Cardinals needing to make some sort of plan for a backup quarterback plan or a potential getting somebody in the draft and potentially, developing them for, you never know, right? So Gardner Minshew now released. Let me know, or not released now, but he's going to get released next Wednesday. Let me know in the comments below if you're interested in potential Gardner Minshew. Me personally, I'm not mad at the idea, but I would rather have the Arizona Cardinals allocate a draft pick for a guy like obviously Jackson Dart, Will Howard. Any of those guys are going to be a 3rd round, 4th round, 5th round picks. Maybe we take a flyer on them and maybe develop them into hopefully becoming, a QB that could be very, very useful for the Cardinals in the future. So for what it's worth, ladies and gentlemen, let me know in the comments below. But let's go ahead and get started. Now, let's keep it with the trend of free agency. Now, if you guys did not know, I released a video about this a little earlier about the Cardinals potentially trying to bring some of their own guys back. Now, a lot of these guys that we're going to be mentioning here on the screen, they're not going to be big-time signings, but guys that the Cardinals hopefully are going to want to try to bring back, right? So let's go ahead and get started here, and let's just shine this up real fast. Now, like I said before, we did mention this on a prior video, so if you guys already seen this, I apologize. We're not going to spend too much time on this, but these are the guys that the Cardinals reportedly want to bring back per John Gambadoro of Arizona Sports. The free agent column are the guys that the Cardinals are going to attempt to bring back, and then the maybe not column is going to be the guys that, as of right now, I don't know, and John Gambadoro doesn't think that they're going to try to bring back, right? So take a look at this list. Let me know here in the comments below, who are you sad about? I know the Will Hernandez situation is going to be very, very something to keep your eye on. I wouldn't mind Will Hernandez coming back personally, but who knows, right? A lot of injuries has kind of happened since he signed a contract and the extension with the Arizona Cardinals, so we'll have to kind of wait and see how that shakes out, because Kazir White put a cryptic Instagram post out there, and it almost kind of feels like he is going to test the market, and rightfully so. This is going to be probably his last time for him to collect the bag to secure his family, and it all makes sense at the end of the day. Zach Pascal, I'm not really worried about. Zay Jones really didn't do very much. I'm kind of sad about Greg Dortch, but we're going to talk about a potential replacement in free agency that I'm really, really excited about. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's get started here. Let's talk about my top 5 free agents that I would love the Arizona Cardinals to potentially target. Now, I'm going to be clear. I'm not saying the Cardinals need to go after all 5 of these guys, but as long as we bring in 2 or 3 of these guys, I would be absolutely ecstatic. Now, let's get started here. Let's dive into it. Let's first start off here with obviously the guy that most people, right, whenever you're looking at any articles or whoever has like mock free agents, most articles have Josh Sweat coming to the Arizona Cardinals. It just makes sense, right? When you look at the defensive line for the Arizona Cardinals, we got our primary guy being a 4th to 5th round guy in Dante Stills, which I really like. I think he's a really good production guy, but rotational piece, right? At least as of right now in his career. And then you got Zaven Collins, which is a middle linebacker turned edge player. We don't have a guy that's going to be an X factor. We don't have a closer, right? We don't have any of those guys. Dennis Gardeck was arguably our best outside linebacker for years, but unfortunately he wasn't able to stay healthy, right? So the Cardinals need to go after edge in free agency as well as in the draft as well. And right now, the best guy, at least in my personal opinion, the best fit would probably be Josh Sweat out of Philadelphia. Now, I've seen multiple comments out there saying things like, oh, Josh Sweat will not be your X factor if he doesn't have a lot of guys, on that D line to make him better, which obviously you need to have a solid defensive line. And let's be honest, that Philadelphia Eagles defensive line was probably one of the best defensive lines I've seen in a very long time. A lot of great production from them. And is Josh Sweat coming into a defensive line where he needs to be a hero? Well, I'm hoping that this offseason we're going to be able to address those things, right, in free agency as well as in the draft as well. We got Darius Robinson that I'm excited about his year too. Hopefully BBQ Ojulari stays healthy. And then we ended up getting those guys, Bilal Nichols and Justin Jones, for rotational pieces in the middle. So we got some pieces, but as long as we're able to stay healthy, I think adding Josh Sweat will be a really, really good addition for the Arizona Cardinals. Obviously, coming off one of his best seasons with 8 sacks, and that's amazing. We haven't had anybody touch 8 sacks. I think Zaven Collins was the most sacks this year, and he had 5 sacks. And he's a middle linebacker, what his true position is. So overall, the production is there for Josh Sweat, and I would love the Cardinals to make a big swing and getting a guy like him, especially he knows success, right? He knows what tasting the Super Bowl is. So I want to bring in guys that know what it takes to win, right? And change up the culture a little bit. I love the culture that JG is building, but we need to start bringing in talented guys that's going to be able to play in the NFL. I've said this multiple times. We have the heart. We had a lot of guys on this defense that played very, very hard for Jonathan Gannon and Nick Rallis, but it's time to now to bring in guys that have that talent and that can actually win at the line of scrimmage, and I do believe that Josh Sweat can be one of those guys. So would love it. Would love to see it. Hopefully about maybe a 3 or 4 year deal for Josh Sweat. Make it happen, Monty Ossenfort. This is probably one of my, hopefully, things that happen this offseason. So Josh Sweat, definitely a target for me in this year's free agent class. The next guy I want to talk about here is going to be what I kind of mentioned before with the whole Greg Dortch. I'm a little sad about him. Obviously, um, most likely going to hit the open market, and the Cardinals might be not bringing him back because I've always said he played bigger than his height. Like he's a dog. He really is. Like when given the opportunity, he's a really, really good, talented player. But I'm looking at a guy that is a little taller, 5'9", 165, spent most of his career, actually spent all of his career with the Los Angeles Rams in Tutu Atwell. I feel like this is a very intriguing player and a guy that we can potentially use in the slots. Right now, the Arizona Cardinals at the wide receiving core, they got Michael Wilson and then obviously Marvin Harrison Jr. And then after that, there's just a lot of unknown when it comes down to who's going to be your slot guy, right? Now, of course, we mentioned the thoughts of if the Cardinals go crazy in free agency, maybe that opens up for getting a wide receiver in the second round. Maybe, heck, if you want to get crazy, first round, third round, right? But I think if you add a guy like Tutu Atwell, you can say to yourself, hey, we got a solid guy in the slot. And he's produced for the LA Rams. I've seen multiple different people that cover the LA Rams saying that Tutu Atwell is a very, very good wide receiver, is just not really given an opportunity, right? Especially when you got a wide receiving core with Cooper Kupp as well as Puka Nacua. You don't really get that opportunity. But if you got a guy like Tutu Atwell that can obviously spread the field or take the top off of the defense, I feel like the Cardinals should at least look this way and look at the production that he's had, right? In 2024 was probably his best year, 562 yards, averaged about 13.4 yards a catch. Didn't have any touchdowns in 2024, but in 2023 he had 3 touchdowns. In 2022 he had 1 touchdown. So overall, I like what I've seen from him, right? But as you can tell, look at the long column right there, right? The LNG. The longest catch is 50 yards in 2024, and in 2023, 44 yards. You don't really got that type of guy on this roster. So bringing a guy like Tutu Atwell would be pretty darn good. He was a second-round pick, 57th overall to the LA Rams. I don't think he's going to be very expensive. We're talking about a guy that's probably going to want to prove that he's going to get his next, check, right? And he's really young. I think last time I looked, I think he's like 25 years old. So if you get him on a 2-year deal, maybe 3-year deal, and he's actually works out well, hey, you never know. We can get our slot guy of the future here for the Cardinals. So I love the idea of potentially bringing in Tutu Atwell to the Arizona Cardinals. Next guy we want to talk about here, and obviously I want to give a shout out here to some subscribers that obviously put me on Milton Williams, because at the time when we were talking about free agency during the season, I didn't really know too much about Milton Williams, but now I'm on the train, man. I'm on the train with Milton Williams, 6'3", 290 pounds, also 25 years old, was picking in the third round, 73rd overall to the Philadelphia Eagles, and has actually had a really darn good year with the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, same comments I've seen from Josh Sweat as I've seen with Milton Williams, right? You're not going to get him to produce at the level that he produced with Philly because of that defensive line. Well, yes, that makes sense, right? But still, for the Arizona Cardinals, this is a huge upgrade if the Cardinals were to go this route, right? We need a dog in the interior. And just think about this. Close your eyes for a second, right? Milton Williams, and then you got Darius Robinson going in his second year, because it almost kind of feels like Darius Robinson is going to be used in the middle. I know they said in training camp that they're using him throughout the line, and maybe they haven't moved him around because he was, healing up from his injury and coming back from an injury. That might be possible, but I think he's going to stay in the middle of the line, so the interior. So I would love the idea of getting a brand new, ramped up defensive line, starting with Milton Williams and then your second year player in Darius Robinson. I feel like that would be a D line that hopefully can wreak havoc on the opposing quarterbacks. And then obviously we'll figure out the edge positions, hopefully in the draft, and or heck, maybe also getting another edge player in free agency as well. We know that our defensive line is probably one of the biggest needs a position, edge as well as interior. So Milton Williams, I'm on the train. To me specifically, I'm not more Josh Sweat than I am Milton Williams, or because I know there's some people out there saying, "Oh, I'm more on the Milton Williams train than I am on Josh Sweat," and I get the vice versa, right? I'm on the more Josh Sweat train than I am on Milton Williams. Let me know where you guys are at. Like, where are you guys at? Would you rather allocate the money to Milton or to Josh? Let me know in the comments below, because realistically, you're probably going to get one or the other, right? I would love to get both. That would be absolutely amazing, but I just don't see a world where the Cardinals are going to do that. So let me know in the comments, who are you on? Are you on the Milton train or the Josh train? Let me know in the comments below. But I would love to bring in a player like him as well and get that interior beef ready to go. All right, let's move on, ladies and gentlemen. Let's talk about the next guy. And this is the guy that I've been talking about since the trade deadline. I've been longing for the Cardinals to make a move in the trade deadline to acquire an Azeez Ojulari. Unfortunately, he did get hurt as well, but he was trending to make one of his best seasons in the 2024 season, right? Now, yes, this is the brother of BJ Ojulari, which is our current edge rusher number one, and he really hasn't had a snap in the regular season, or has, but hasn't had a big sample size in the regular season. So he is the brother. And are you concerned about injury with him? I mean, some might say, but like, look in 2021, right? He played 17 games. 2022, he played 7 games. 2023, he played 11 games. In 2024, he played 11 games as well. So there's a little concern when it comes down to injury or if he's going to be able to stay healthy. But just the sample size of what you've seen in 11 games, what he's done: 6 sacks, 16 assists, 12 tackles. You're right. I mean, we can benefit from getting a guy like this, right? So can we live in a world where we get Milton Williams and then Azeez? Yeah, I think that makes a little bit more sense, because he probably will be a little bit more cost effective. And I'm talking about Azeez Ojulari compared to a Josh Sweat, right? So maybe the Cardinals can address the defensive line position just like that by getting him and pairing him up with Milton Williams, right? Maybe, right? Just kind of throwing some things in the wall, but I still love the idea of getting an Azeez Ojulari. He's definitely younger than Josh Sweat. He's 24, where I believe Josh Sweat is 28 right now. So this would be maybe more of a long-term solution, cheaper, right? Maybe a 3 or 4 year deal for him, but I think it definitely would be cheaper per year compared to Josh Sweat. But definitely a target I would love the Cardinals to potentially go after as well. Now let's talk about the next guy, and the final guy that we want to talk about is going to be none other than Nick Bolton, linebacker from the Kansas City Chiefs. There was rumors out there that he was going to sign back with the Chiefs, but it looks like he is going to hit the market. The other guy that they were going to let hit the market, or at least reports were that they weren't going to franchise tag him, was Trey Smith, their guard. They ended up franchising tagging him. So now we got Nick Bolton hitting the market. And honestly, I think this is a really intriguing guy hitting the market, because like we said a little earlier, Kazir White, you don't know if he's coming back or not, right? So if Kazir White is going to hit the market, we got a big hole in that linebacking spot, right? So we got Mack Wilson Sr., which I absolutely love, but what are we doing here, right? Are we going to move Zaven Collins back into the middle? Because if that's the case, okay, but I can see a world where that might work out for the Cardinals, but I would love to get a guy that's got the ability to absolutely track down a runner, track down a pass catcher. And this is a guy that absolutely is not scared to tackle at all, right? Now, he stands 5'11". And he is a second round pick to the Chiefs, 24 years old, 237 pounds. And this guy is a tackling machine. He's got a way to track people down. And he's a very good tackler, a really, really good tackler. In 2024, probably had his best season so far. 3 sacks, 1 forced fumble, 2 fumble recoveries, and an interception. So got a guy in the middle that the Cardinals can very well use an upgrade. I would love the Arizona Cardinals to potentially target a Nick Bolton. Now, I kind of went back and forth between Nick Bolton and Zach Bond. I like Zach Bond as well, but I wanted to see a little bit more bigger sample size of Zach Bond if he can continue to replicate what he did this last year. Because let's call it like it is. Zach Bond from the Philadelphia Eagles went absolutely nuts, and he's worthy of one of my top 5 prospects as well. I just didn't want to put a lot of Philadelphia Eagle players on here. I didn't want to take every one of their players, although we know that that defense is really, really good and really, really stout. I wanted to mix it up and then put Nick Bolton in there, but I'm going to be honest. Zach Bond is definitely up there as well. He's probably going to be my 5B, right? And Nick Bolton is definitely my 5A. So we got to figure out that linebacking core. And I still kind of remember when Zaven Collins was the middle linebacker. He was good. He just wasn't a superstar, right? So I'm curious to figure out what the plan is going to be for the Arizona Cardinals. But these are going to be my top 5 players I would love the Cardinals to potentially go after in this year's free agency class. Keep in mind, I'm not looking for the Cardinals to target all 5 of these guys, obviously. I mean, we do got a lot of money, but if you're paying these guys pretty top tier money, it goes by really quickly. So hopefully we get 2 or 3 of top tier guys that we can fill in a hole, and then we go into the draft to start getting best player available from there. So, ladies and gentlemen, if there anybody that is on my list that you do not like, let me know in the chat. But if there's anybody that's on your list that you want me to obviously look into, let me know in the comments below. Appreciate y'all for tuning in as always. Have a great rest of your day, and as always, go Cardinals.